Your main man back in your mind space, Jack. And today we're going to be talking about a first review, a first impressions review, if you will. And we're going to go further in depth about John Sneed's Eldritch Skies for Savage Worlds. I also picked up, this is apparently the only Savage Worlds additional piece of material they have, and it is fucking thin. Got this one on eBay. It's just small. I have no idea. I haven't read it yet. It literally came yesterday. Unfortunately, I don't have anywhere near the amount of time I wish I did to read games between, having a full-time career and being a single parent that has full custody. It is a lot of work. Also, when you're in a large number of games. So, I like my bookmark. I bought a whole thing of bookmarks. Kind of nice. You can get them on Amazon.com. They have some really cool looking bookmarks on there for those of us that are using bits of paper towels, random old doctor's notes, or various and sundry items that themselves are not proper bookmarks. You can get some on Amazon.com to hook you up. Now, this book, I've not read anywhere near all of it. You can see about where I am. We're still in the beginning. However, the book seems to be overviewed and overlaid in a way that I think I have a good portion of the gist of it. So I'm just going to give you my first impressions as I've been slowly, thumbing through the book a couple pages at a time, reading it and trying to read it slowly so I can really wrap it inside of my own mind space. So let's kind of talk about this a little bit. I've never run a Savage Worlds game before. I've never even played in a Savage Worlds game before. But shout out to my main man, the Moon, and the Moon, a member of my gaming group for, close to 15 years now. He is going to be running the first Savage Worlds action tomorrow on Saturday, 3 p.m. We're going to be doing a superhero setting as a setting a game deal he's devised, basically kind of a walkthrough to kind of hook me up on the rules. This will be the next game I plan to run. I want to do something different. And the last two games I've run are Dungeons & Dragons, the current Planescape game, a lot of Within the Ring of Fire. They're currently in Kavega Theo. Pick a Within the Ring of Fire books up, drive-through-rpg.com. I think you can get a copy of this on drive-through-rpg.com as well. I don't know if you can get the physical copy printed there. I can't remember. I think it might only be the PDF. But I bought this online, and I'll go through when I do my books that I've been buying recently, which sadly has probably come to an end. I just spent way too much money and don't really have a whole lot left. My thought were, well, I don't want to buy modern books, so let's just buy what we have. And Savage Worlds has appealed to me. The idea of it has appealed to me for some time. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. Not sold it because I haven't played it. I do not like the initiative system in there. It just feels wrong to me. But we'll see. I mean, after playing it, I'm going to have a very different idea, and I'll probably put impressions of playing Savage Worlds at some point in here. But I'd planned to run this. I wanted to do something Cthulhu-ish, and let me kind of tell you about this. What sort of draw me to it? What sort of made me interested in this? This place takes place slightly in the future, in the year 2030, or probably reasonably after that. However, from a much earlier period of time, it it diverges. It's basically, well, I guess it's really not. I was gonna say it's basically our world, but no, it's not. It's really not. They basically took. This doesn't have later stuff. It's not August Derleth and that trash, and he's trash and sucks. And I do appreciate that. We did it for H.P. Lovecraft, but it's just like someone who really loved Within the Ring of Fire. Like, yes, let's bring this up and make it the greatest, and show it to everyone. And then they started writing stuff, and they were straight butt. That's August Derleth. He was a big fanboy of H.P. Lovecraft and not a good writer, and his stories aren't good. And if you're going to read Cthulhu stuff, completely skip his. I have made the mistake of not doing that. And there's tons of great writers in there. This, I guess you would have to say, has some Robert E. Howard influence in it. Because they do have, I believe they do have serpent people listed in here. And serpent people, what a wonderful servitor race they are. Whether we know them as the, what the fuck are they called in D&D? Yuan-Ti. Yuan-Ti in D&D, which I love. One of my favorites. Of course, all going back to Robert E. Howard, who created that, which are the predicator of the reptilians, that imbecilic conspiracy theory. Just right out of Robert E. Howard, which I'm sure would have pissed him off. Maybe made him hit you with a fucking left hook from his boxing tactics. So, This book is basically just H.P. Lovecraft. It's not nonsensical fools of the mythos. No, it's Lovecraft, and maybe some small level of influence from some of the earlier writers, some of the great writers. Maybe someone like an Arthur McCatchen or a Ramsey Campbell or an Ashton Clark Smith, and definitely from a Robert E. Howard. But other mythos writers, the more modern ones, wholly absent. Now, this didn't just repump out Call of Cthulhu. And you can see, you can't see because I'm completely blocking it, but right there, let me see if I can move out of the way. Nope. There we go. And you still can't see it. So right here we got a bunch of Call of Cthulhu books. I've recently bought a whole oh, there we go. Whole bunch of Call of Cthulhu books. There's D20 Cthulhu. We got 5th edition. The 5th edition is kind of where I am. Just randomly happened to be what I picked up first for Call of Cthulhu, so why not stay there? They're probably all equally as good. And I am dubious of newer editions of games. I'm very dubious of the newer constraints on writers, which are bitch ass. We got Delta Green back here, which I've never run. There's Realms of Cthulhu for Savage Worlds. And you can see up here various Savage Worlds games for Slipstream, Sundered Skies. What do we have? Necessary Evil, Horror Companion, Fantasy Companion, Savage Worlds Sci-Fi, or superhero stuff. It's kind of, I don't know, my son's grabbed it, moved it somewhere. We got 2 base of this Savage World and 2 base of this Savage Worlds book. So we got some of that stuff. And upcoming, I bought a lot of Cthulhu stuff recently, probably about as much as on the shelf, which I'll be showing in videos before I put them away. However, with this book, and it's a retail of $25. Let's start off with the things I already noticed are bad. The editing in this book is horrendous. There are lots of fairly significantly editing errors. It's not, okay, you missed a comma, or maybe you used a word that didn't explain X as well as it should have. Maybe you should have used this word and not that word. Not small editing issues, not a slight miss of punctuation, but you know, there's a lot of editing issues in the book. Not an incredibly high amount, but for a professional quality book, a lot. The artwork in the book is not good. Here's a picture of it. I mean, it's fine, it's serviceable, but it's not good, and there's not a lot of it. You can see what the inside layer looks like of the book. That's okay, it's serviceable, but as a game designer, I would not accept this. This is not, I would not get with this. I think the pages are pretty uninspired. You know, it's just sort of basic font, and you know, just a very small amount of, I don't know. It doesn't do it for me. And again, I mean, some of the artwork in here, don't get me wrong, the artwork isn't bad. It's just there's not enough of it, and it's not. A lot of it looks like sludge art. They're just, let's just throw this in here, as opposed to, okay, we had a piece commissioned for this particular area, and there's lots of pages I go through that do not have artwork on them. And for me, I like to have a lot of artwork in a book. Those who've picked up Within the Ring of Fire, we have full color artwork in there, some black and white artwork in there, but lots of it. It's just generously packed with that from some fantastic artists, and that really helps to bring it to life. It's all of it's meant to spark your imagination. Everything's meant to spark your imagination. So the price on this at $25. Let's give you a page count. It is 247 pages, but they do have a lot of pages that instead of having a piece of artwork here, it just runs into nothing, or you know, maybe it'll be here. So there's quite a few pages like that, and a lot of them are just sort of dead quotes from Lovecraft to fill up a page. Like, did you really need all of that, or are you trying to do something just to fatten your book count up a little bit? And I kind of felt like they sort of did that, right? I mean, there's some pieces of art on pages, and that's what you need. You can't have a whole slab there. You got to get some artwork in there. You got to take pride in the book. So those are things I didn't like. I think a price point of $25 is fine for this. It's not quite like, here's one of the Savage Worlds books, right? So let's kind of show you. It's bigger. It's bigger, definitely longer. So I don't know if you would still consider that digest size, but I don't feel that there are as many words per page just from reading it. I don't feel it has the same count as a Dungeons and Dragons book, or like a Vampire the Masquerade book, Within the Ring of Fire book. I don't. I'm eyeballing it, but I really don't think so. And there's a lot of kind of empty space and just kind of dead end Like there again, here's another one. All right, so there's that, and then just a gray page. You're like, oh, let's just put a gray page here. No, no, dude, you gotta do a little better than that. You know, to separate your chapters, you gotta kind of get people, on board for that. So those things are not great about it. Um, Even the cover of the book is kind of, if we put together covers of books, and again, I am an indie RPG designer, so this isn't like somebody from Moneybags Wizards of the Coast saying, "Oh, they did better than that." Back of the book, again, uninspired. If you saw this on a shelf, I don't think it really grabbed your attention, which is a shame because the idea in this book is very refreshing. It is H.P. Lovecraft presented as science fiction, not as horror. Sure, there are horror undertones to it, but it's taking uh, the shadow out of time, right, and bringing you that sort of feeling at the Mountains of Madness, bringing you that sort of feeling, as opposed to more like say a Dunwich horror. Certainly, a lot of Shadow over Innsmouth reflects on there, and anything with ghouls like Pickman's model, because ghouls are involved in here. I'm going to talk a little bit about that just from what I've seen so far. I'm trying to find I think there was a kind of concise timeline, which I would like to get to that. And I really like the ideas. Now, I'll beat up on the book a little bit, but I really like the ideas. And I like the writing in the book, too. It just needed to be proofread significantly more than it was. And I get it, we don't have unlimited money, but and I'm not saying I never made mistakes. Certainly did. But, you know, as you have like a whole company here, and it was just me and a couple of my buddies that did Within the Ring of Fire. So I think the standard is too low there. And I think I'm in a position to speak as an authority on that, having done it, right? So let's look at a timeline. So they go in and they talk about this too. They go into the ancient times. They talk about the flying polyps, the great race. They talk about the Cthulhuoids. They talk about the elder ones, right, and the wars that they've had, and all this stuff. They talk about how that sort of influenced life and how that influenced mass extinctions of life at various points, about the Shoggoths, and all that kind of plays into the background of the game. And I'm going to revisit that in a minute in the review. But then we have a modern timeline here. I really like that. Um, this isn't the way I necessarily would have laid it out. I would like to do more of a like I used to have these old history books. Like you'd have the whole page, like I don't know when I took history in college, it would just be lined across, and it would be this, and and then this year this happened, and it's kind of bullet pointed. I think a bullet pointed chart could have really helped here for someone popping back through. But all of these are pretty quickly put together. So I'm just going to read off their modern timeline a little bit to kind of give you the genesis of where they go forward with this. And they said this is going to be the next game I'm planning to run. And that's off of one book and one source book. As far as I know, they have not made anything else for Savage Worlds, and I don't think they're going to. If I'm wrong, put that in the link below. I would love to pick this stuff up. So, modern timeline, 1928. The FBI discover the deep ones and the hybrid deep ones in Innsmouth, Massachusetts. Now, in 1931, the Miskatonic Arctic expedition discovers the Elder One city. That's so. This is The Shadow over Innsmouth in 1928, which is one of Lovecraft's classics. If you're watching this and you haven't read H.P. Lovecraft, you should do that. He is one of the absolute most brilliant writers of the horror genre, of the science fiction genre, of the surrealist genre, and just absolutely fantastic. One of my absolute personal favorites, and I have all of his stuff. And the bookcase over there. There's a whole another bookcase, and there's also I have actual filing cabinet, metal filing cabinet I keep books in that has at least as many books as this in it. So we got a lot of role. This ain't everything, folks. We got a lot of role playing game books here. The Wood family has a bit of a addiction to fiction, maybe, but that's okay. So, 1931, the Miskatonic Arctic expedition discovered the Elder One city. Now that's at the Mountains of Madness, which is fantastic and has been so much has been taken out of there. If you like John Carpenter's A Thing, that's The Mountains of Madness. The god awful Predator movie that they made with aliens, that's a very very poorly done at The Mountains of Madness. But The Mountains of Madness is really fantastic. It's so eerie, so strange, and it has that slow Lovecraft pace that You know, it builds up the ambiance of dread, and it is very much science fiction. So that's great because these are things that are on the planet, you know, an enormous amount of time ago. You know, so there is it's a cool song about the band Rage, not Rage Against the Machines, who suck, but Rage. I'm sure I get dislikes for that, but fuck that band. They're a German, I think they're German slash Russian slash American. It's a three piece. P.D. Wagner, I think yeah, that's the name of the lead singer, and I want to say he's a bass player too, maybe guitarist. I think bass player. Great stuff. Their song "Shadow of Time," "The Great Old Ones," "The Crawling Chaos." Those songs are great if you like fucking metal. Definitely the sort of thing that I draw on inspiration for and use during the games. Shadow out of time. Yes, fucking phenomenal, phenomenal. I go, I hit my workout, man, when I'm running. I love to just pump that. Give me the power of fucking heavy metal itself. That's the kind of power you need. Pump it through you, baby. You best believe that. Now let's look at that. 1947. So they diverge, right? There's not a Lovecraft story based in 1947 for some fairly obvious reasons. So then they start creating their self. They grab two events in the modern time right off of H.P. Lovecraft stuff. They're not. I would say everything of Lovecraft's happened. So this is a universe in which the writings of Lovecraft took place. But we're going to get into how the world knows and what the world knows about them, and that's the really interesting spot. So here's one of their. This is one of their events. So 1947, a small Mego ore transport crashes in Roswell, New Mexico. The wreckage is recovered by the U.S. military, so we know what we're talking about. We know what this is, and you know, very famous Roswell, New Mexico, Area 51. Mego are involved in this, and Mego are involved in the game. They're a species that, as we come back here in a little bit, we'll kind of talk about how they put that together. Um, let's see. I'm trying not to get into like every little bit here because you know, and I would strongly suggest buying this if you like Savage Worlds, um, if you like Cthulhu, because it's different. It's science fiction called Cthulhu. You are playing a science fiction game. You're not playing a horror game. You're not uh, researchers in the 1920s or 30s walking around or 1890s by gaslight. You are people who are in an age that are aware that these sort of things are out there and that other things are out there. And they went through some of the things that the humanity interacts with. So I don't want to reveal everything they have here, but let's go through quite a bit of it. Okay, so here we go. No. All right, so we have 1986 USSR collapses, and this starts causing a lot of problems. All right, 1987, and there's a big timeline here. I'm just reading a bit of it. After the fall of the USSR, information about the existence of psychic technologies, recent alien contact, hyperspatial technologies, and I'll talk about that as a little bit later, and advanced space travel all become public, rocking public confidence. And you come to a position here, in fact, yeah, okay. So we talk about this later. Basically, everyone that's in office in first world countries that have democracy gets voted out. Like the public becomes aware because of the fall of the USSR and all this leaked intel that comes out after that, that the U.S. government, that the British government, that all these various countries' governments have been lying to them in a massive cover up for perhaps ever, and if not, at least since, uh, 60 years. And people are furious about this. So they create these different government institutions, the UN institutions, and so forth, to start disseminating and disclosing information to the public. Of course, in that situation, they're still lying to the people, and they're like, okay, here you go. Let's cut this off. They're not going to tell you about the great old ones. They're not going to tell you about these extreme things. And it's not even that they necessarily know about something, say, as deep as Azathoth, but they do know about some of the great old ones. And I don't think we've gotten to exactly all of them. They do. I know they know about Cthulhu because they talk about the Cthulhuoids, or which is, I suppose, the star spawn. That is something that's particularly interesting here. They create dealings with Amigo. So there's dealings with Amigo, and there's a UN based organization that is a go-between to say, okay, America, you can't set up your own dealings. India, you can't set up your own dealings. You're going to come through us and work through us because we don't want one country to have exclusive abilities to cut their side deals for alien technology and to push it up. But for a long period of time, at the very minimum, since 1947, we've had alien technology, MIGO technology, which is vastly advanced above human technology, and people have been, reverse engineering that, taking it and pushing it up. So it comes off probably a lot like a Men in Black type of thing, where you turn this over and you see how things are really working on the inside, and that we're dealing with aliens, that these things are happening, and the U.S. public knows some of these things are happening. They know magic is real. But they're being lied to constantly by the Security Council about what magic is and how to do it. They're being lied to about psychic phenomena, but not as much. And people are well aware that psychic phenomena is a real thing, up to the point that there's recreational devices that come with like having memories, like walking on a distant planet or beating some cheeks. Like literally, they mention that in there too. For recreational reasons. So they go through some of the actual things in there, which is very interesting to submerge yourself in a different culture, and a culture that has veered and changed because of the fact that this is basically would have been our world, but we got a massive technology bump. So the year 2030 is not what our 2030 will be. This is an extremely different, very futuristic science fiction technological deal that's going on. We have something called the Dragonfly Drive, and I'm trying to go into all these things are, but basically, humanity has colonized other planets and some of them outside of our solar system. Partially, we've done this by creating, I guess you might even call them wormholes that go through hyperspace, which is essentially, as far as I understand it, other dimensions before your mystic intentions. Now, in these other dimensions, these are where the things live, or things like a Cthulhu, and things like an Azathoth, this sort of thing. Beyond that, perhaps even where these things live, right? And there are these ancient horrors, sort of like, what is it, The Lurking Fear, the one Stephen King completely ripped off and made the movie The Mist, right, or the book The Mist, right? That's H.P. Lovecraft. I want to say that's Lurking Fear. So going to the dimension of that sort of thing, and then it explains what you need to do in kind of protecting yourself. So you have that ability to go to these dimensions, but basically that's sort of used as a method for the sorcery, which is derived from that sort of Cthulhu following, right, or similar things, but it's applied differently, right? And part of it is to create massive, essentially, teleporters that allow people to get to other worlds, and to teleport satellites and these sort of things, so that you're around and able to set up worlds and try to make sure you're figuring out what's going on. They found alien ruins on different planets that are over 10,000 years old. They have released to the Earth that, yeah, there were some of these races, elder ones, Cthulhuoids, but they haven't been on the Earth for 70 million years, so don't even sweat it, don't worry about it. When in reality, they know these things aren't necessarily true. The truth about the ghouls, that's completely hush hush. To just get out of here with that stuff. And if you know too much, they'll come and get you. And they'll basically kind of give you a Men in Black deal, or you might just go away forever, or you may just be horrendously discredited and ruined. So there's certainly rife for all sorts of conspiracy theories here. The reptilians, oh, right? Because they are. You have reptilians here. You have the deep ones, who themselves are dealing with the Security Council. You have the government is actively the government, and I think it's the UN government. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Yeah. So, 2012, Moon Beast Raiders attack a mining station on Epsilon Irdani 2 and kill or capture the inhabitants. 2015, Moon Beast Raiders attack the colony on Emerald and are driven off. Yes, 2021. The UN declares a state of war between humanity and the Moon Beast. Given the infrequency of Moon Beast attacks and the fact that humanity has not found any Moon Beast colonies, this declaration is largely symbolic. But we are, as a race, at war with the Moon Beast. Yeah, so they will be dealt with as we play Moonchild by Iron Maiden and we beat their asses. So that's right off the bat something you have going on. You have people colonizing these planets, but they're both selective on who's allowed to go, right? You need skills the colony is going to want. And a lot of people that are in the first waves are basically getting things ready for more colonists to come. So you have colonists going to the moon, colonists going to other planets, and it's building up, right? So you can have this situation, this exploration, this terraforming of different planets. You can research and explore ancient fucking ruins themselves of alien civilization. You can exploit the minerals that are there. You may have unstable isotopes that are unlike any that have been found on Earth, or new periodic elements. You could have any of these sort of things in your game. You could have if you wanted your more bing, 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 Flash Gordon, Buck Rogery type of thing, but I don't think that's well suited here. I think it's more aliens with mature, sophisticated science fiction. You know, these are not necessarily astronauts, but maybe they're scientists. Maybe they're um, Marines. Maybe they're people who are from an industrial corporation that's acquired the rights to push through there. And it goes and kind of breaks down ethnically from what countries most people are coming from. It's like only about 8% of people from that are colonizing these planets are from the United States. And a lot of the people, they're desperate, they're poor, they're needing things. But that crosses the same way. They need to be competent. They need to have things that the colony wants. They need to be able to, there needs to be a reason that they get picked for the team. It's not just bring, you know, every jabroni in the back room down here and let's have a barbecue, baby. It's never that type of situation. So it presents a real interesting opportunity, I think, to create very neat archaeological exercise exploration. I have an idea for what I'm going to do. I'm not going to share that because my players watching videos. But you have an idea to engage in fights, and it's not something ridiculous like Cthulhu Tech where you fight Cthulhu and you know, come on, get out of here with that. That's a fool's nonsense. That's just a straight fool's nonsense, son. Nah, go on with that foolishness. What you need to have instead of all that nonsense is, you know, you're having this uneasy alliance having to dealing with the buzzings of the Migo, or maybe you are a person who has found it. And some people do know about ghouls, but they are discredited. And you're dealing with ghouls. You could be on Earth doing that in the near future with higher technology. You can be dealing with the deep ones. You can deal with. You could be on this Moon Beast war, and you can go on after Moon Beast and just air conditioning them some bitches, or maybe they get a hold of you and beat your cheeks. I mean, who knows what Moon Beast be doing up there on the moon, son? But you will. Anyway, I think the book is excellent. I have not run any Savage Worlds, and it definitely pushed me towards that direction as I was looking at what do we prepare for next. Do I get like a Beats of Masterminds game together? Do I get like some BRP? Do I get like a standard Call of Cthulhu game? And I do have an idea for that too, for our standard Call of Cthulhu game. I thought it'd be really neat to have a basically a Sons of Anarchy versus Cthulhu style of game, right? Where you're fighting cults and you're a biker gang, and you know you fucking you're dealing meth and you found these meth heads and there's just strange fucking shit going on, and some of the other members of your biker gang who were involved, who knew some things, right, who had picked up some little side deals, they're gone, and you're like looking around like, oh, wait a minute, you start getting clues and you start investigating, but you know, also a double barrel shotgun to a cultist, cacao. So yeah, I have a lot of ideas around trying to create something there, and I think really bringing a science fiction aspect, you know, with a quote, like a Lovecraft quote from one of them. I had to look through here to find it, but basically, you know, that the Migo and the things like that, they're not monsters. These are just the men of a different time and a different age and a different place. They're just people that are completely different, right? These are the crab-like. And quite honestly, this thing isn't crab-like. What is it? Carcinogizing? To become crustacean, to become a crab-like thing. It looks more like a, I don't know, looks more like an insect, I think. Anyway, but it's fungi. So I think this book's well worth picking up. I think if you like Savage Worlds, you may as well pick it up before it. And I don't know if it's in print at all anymore. I think that it was. I think it's copyright from a decent amount of time ago. I know I got mine for somewhere around $25. Yeah, it looks like it was copyrighted in 2014. So copies of something like this, I can't imagine had a huge print run, and I can't imagine that after this review probably gets, you know, 250 billion views, that everybody's not going to be trying to pick this up. So go grab your hands on a copy on eBay if you like Savage Worlds, if you like Cthulhu. it's going to present you different stuff and interesting stuff. I believe it also was originally made in a different setting or a different system. So if that one you like better, then you may want to inquire upon that. But I already have Savage Worlds, and I kind of know it, so that's going to be the way that I'm going to go. This has been your main man, Savage World Reviews. Let me know what you think in the comments below, Barbarian Horde.